Hello everyone, I'm back with my another video. I'm going to talk about top 10 mistakes that will end your driving test instantly. So you have to be very careful and never ever do these mistakes while you're giving your driving exam. So let's start. So first mistake that you have to avoid is the pedestrian crossing. Now, while you're driving your car and you see a pedestrian who is there and want to cross, let this person cross, especially the old people and the ladies with the pram, kids. So let them, go through. Because if you're sitting with the examiner and the examiner sees that there's a person waiting at the pedestrian crossing and you don't let this person cross, immediately end of test, because you're compromising the safety of the person, because people assume that you will stop. So never ever do this mistake. Even if there is a slight chance that this person may cross the road, slow down, with your hand sign you can ask this person to cross and then you go. So be careful about the pedestrian crossing. Second mistake that you have to avoid, that is the traffic sign. When there is a red light, don't jump the red light. Of course, while you are giving the exam, you will not jump the red light, but you know what happens? If you don't judge on time and it is yellow and you are crossing, and since you have not judged it properly, by the time you cross, it's already red and you're crossing. So the moment you saw that light is yellow, slow down and stop. Don't try to accelerate and cross the traffic light. No, because that is not acceptable. You should not accelerate while the traffic light is yellow and cross the light. Never ever do that. So if you see it's yellow, stop, so that you don't commit this mistake of unwillingly or unknowingly crossing the light when it has turned red. So that is a non-negotiable mistake. Third mistake that you have to avoid is never ever get into a no entry. So sometimes there is a car no entry, general no entry, nobody can go, it's a private road. So never ever take your car into a no entry. Avoid this mistake. Fourth mistake that you have to avoid is any kind of blocking. If you're blocking a tram or maybe traffic in the city or in the highway and there is a traffic builds up behind you, that kind of a condition is definitely not appreciated. So you have to avoid any kind of blocking. Please make sure that you follow the sign, the speed limit, and let the tram go. Let the traffic go through. Just don't be in a situation that because of you there is a traffic jam, and then that is definitely will be considered negative, and the examiner will take a due note of this mistake. So please avoid any kind of blocking, and that might happen because you are nervous and that you might forget something, but this is definitely an unacceptable mistake. So please avoid it. Fifth mistake, never cross the solid line. So when you will learn the traffic rules, there is a dotted line, so you are allowed to go, but if it is solid line, you're not allowed to go. Now, this is the mistake that I did when I gave my exam in the first attempt and I failed it. And that was one of the mistakes that he mentioned in his report. Value-wise, after the test, he made a report and he said, you failed the test. And he mentioned it categorically that I crossed the solid line. So never ever cross the solid line. Generally, you find the solid line on a two-way street, so that if you cross, then there is you create unsafe environment around it, or near the traffic light. So never ever cross the solid line, and if you cross it, done. Sixth mistake, and that is also very common. Now, while you are giving an exam, the examiner will take you through different routes, and these are the routes where there are chances of mistake, because these examiner have been through this route many times and they know where this person will do a mistake or where most of the people might do a mistake. So, and it includes those places which has a speed limit of 20 or 30. Now, if you're in a 50 zone or 80 zone or 100 speed zone, then few kilometers up is fine. They they ignore it, but that's fine. It's just an observation, but then not, you'll not fail the test because of that. But there are two speed zones which are really important and where you have to pay a lot of attention. That is 20 and 30. Now these 20 and 30 zones are very narrow lanes. Both sides you have houses. You might have kids playing around. You might have a lot of people on those streets, because it's just between the houses. So if you're driving at a speed of 40 or 50 in these zones, and especially if you miss it, then you are done. Then this is an unacceptable mistake. And make sure that when you're driving in a 30 zone, on the road they will write 30, and if even you forget the signboard, you will see that 30 is written on the road. So if you see down, you'll see 30. So then reduce your speed, go at a speed of 30. But if it is a 20 speed limit zone, then drive very slowly. And also, if there is a construction going on and you see that okay, it's a 50 zone, but and there is no sign to slow down, and you go like boom, at a 50, and the construction is there, construction workers are there, that is also a unacceptable mistake. So take this note that make sure that in a 20 speed zone, 30 speed zone, and where there is a construction, you slow down, go slowly, and don't do this mistake. Otherwise. Seventh mistake, and that is also kind of common because they ask you to do a parallel parking, which generally most of the examiner will ask you to do. Now, when you do a parallel parking, you have to be very, very careful. I failed my test, and that was one of the reason it's not that how you put your car in a parallel parking. It's like when you enter and when you exit the parking, what do you do? So while you want to get into the parking spot, right, you have to give the indicator and start turning so that people who may be behind you, cycle or a car, they know that you want to park your car, so they stop or slow down. When you are exiting the parking, once you're done with your parallel parking, and when you're exiting the parking, make sure that you first give the indicator and then you take your car out. So I did a mistake. I took my car out of the parking spot without giving the indicator, and there were two cars behind. And this person, the examiner, took a very, very serious note of it, and he wrote in my report that there were two cars at the back and I exited without indicator, and they probably would have missed. I'm gonna get into the main lane. So that is a very big mistake. Also, you have to be very careful that, let's say there is a narrow road where you are parking, and there is a cycle coming from the front. Stop, let the cycle go. Even if the road is wide and you don't stop, they will think that you are putting the life of the cyclist in danger. So you stop, let the cycle go, and then you continue with your parking. Also, it might also happen that the road is wide, the other car which is coming from the front can go, but you still slow down or stop and then let this guy go, and then you park. So when you're doing parking, please make sure that you follow this rule. When you enter, indicator. When you exit, indicator. If you see a car or a cycle coming, slow down or stop. I will prefer you stop and let this person go, and then you park. Otherwise, again, big mistake. Eighth mistake. Now, this mistake you can avoid only when you practice a lot. And this is when you're exiting a highway or when you are merging into a highway from acceleration zone, then you have to do it very safely. The rule of thumb is check, then you indicate, then you again check, and then you merge. Now check, indicate, check, and you merge. Some people check and merge, or check, indicate, merge, but they don't check again. Now this is really, really important that you do a very safe merging into the main road, or when you're exiting the main road or the highway, then you check first whether who's coming from behind, and if somebody's coming from behind, you indicate, you check again, and then you exit. Also, there is a triangle sign. When there's a triangle sign, you have to stop or slow down at the triangle sign. Now, if the full visibility, then you can slow down, check, and you can go. But if there is no full visibility, you stop. Well, in the exam, I will prefer please stop, check, both side, left, right, and then you go. So I know a person who failed the exam because it was early in the morning, no traffic on the road, and this person was entering the roundabout. There was a triangle, and this person didn't even slow down or stop at the triangle, just went inside the roundabout, and then this was considered the end of test for the person. So please make sure that you follow the triangle logic, slow down or stop. Indicate, check, and then you exit. Otherwise, no. Okay, ninth mistake. Now, ninth mistake is something that is also considered very, very serious, and that especially when you're taking a turn. If you take a turn very close to the sidewalk, there are chances that you might hit the sidewalk, and that is considered, a big mistake, because imagine if somebody is walking on the sidewalk, you might hit the person. So when you take a turn, don't drive too close to the sidewalk, because first of all, what happens when you hit the sidewalk? Right? So no, don't do that. So yeah, of course you have to turn close to the sidewalk, but then not that close that you hit the sidewalk, because first you get this bump, and then second, imagine if there's a person and the person gets scared, or you might hit the person. So never hit the sidewalk. Okay, so the 10th mistake. Before I talk about the 10th mistake, we have to understand driving test is all about safety of the people. And this road are so safe that even my kids, they go to the school on their own on their bicycle, right? And I have no fear because I know that people follow traffic rules. So the 10th mistake is avoid any kind of accident, because if you hit somebody, it's an immediate end of test, because safety is the first priority. So make sure that you drive confidently, don't get nervous, ensure the safety of the people on the road, avoid any kind of accident, and all the 10 things that I've told you. If you follow that, there is no end of test, and you will pass your exam in the first attempt. So take care, stay safe. Bye. Bye.